Well, if we're operating overseas, we wouldn't take the ambulance because it'd be far too slow. What we'd do is we'd put all our stuff into Pelican cases and ship them over, get a next day delivery from Parcel Force. Now, some journalists have actually mentioned, they keep their kit in an old suitcase. The old suitcase to which they're referring to is a medical grade Pelican case. It's the same kind used by the NHS and the British military. It's very robust, very tough, very transportable. And most of our equipment is designed to be transportable. It'd be a real pain for us to have to ship things that way, but we could do it. We'd just leave the ambulance behind because obviously we can't pack that into a Pelican case. We've recently made informal arrangements with members of Alcor Portugal who understand that while we still have things we want to improve in the UK, we have a much better situation than they do. So if they have notice of a cryonics emergency amongst their membership, they will phone us and we will ship our people and equipment over to Portugal to stand by and do the stabilisation and oversee the transport from Portugal, which will probably, well in fact it will at this stage unless we find a better way of doing it, mean doing the initial standby stabilisation in Portugal, using a funeral director based in London to get the patient from Portugal to London and then ship from London to America. The reason for this is because we understand the bureaucracy between getting a patient from Britain to the United States. From Portugal, we're still looking into it. There may be ways of doing it more directly from Portugal, we don't know yet.
Sorry, is it because the storage is in America, inevitably?
The storage, yeah, there are two main cryonics storage organisations in America and one in Russia. Our members are entirely with America, and Alcor Portugal, as the name suggests, are entirely with Alcor in the United States and Arizona.
How many people are there in Alcor?
I couldn't give you an exact figure, but do you mean staff or patients or what?
I just mean relative to the size of the UK kind of operation. It's,
okay, well the staff of Alcor is relatively small. If you look at alcor.org, you can see the staff there. It's not very large. It's half a dozen to a dozen people at most. Some of them part-time, some full-time, I think. CI likewise, Cryonics Institute has only 2 full-time members of staff and then contractors, liaises with funeral directors, that kind of thing. Suspended animation, I think, again, all these figures are off the top of my head, but I think they have 5 full-time members of staff and around 20 independent contractors. Yes?
So just to clarify, so I'm clear on my head, the Portugal setup is they are actual Alcor employees?
No.
They're not, or are they equivalent to your UK setup?
Yeah, they're equivalent to us, except they work solely with Alcor because they're an Alcor local help group who are just doing what they can to improve their situation. Vera?
Have you tried to contact Cryoros?
Yes, I've had some fair discussions with Danila Medvedev. Danila Medvedev is the chairman of Cryoros, for those who do not know him. What did you have in mind, Vera?
Well, do you want to work with them?
We'd be delighted. There's no, there are no Cryoros members that I'm aware of in the UK, and as far as I'm aware at the moment, most of their members are in Russia itself, Eastern Europe, possibly Scandinavia, and so far they have arranged the transport themselves. Certainly, if they wanted to work with us, would be happy to do so at a future date. But for the moment, there is no direct collaboration between us and Cryoros.
Did they refuse to work with UK, or did he say anything?
At the moment, it has not been suggested from either party that we assist with their suspensions, for the simple reason that it would be impractical for us, and at the moment they're managing by themselves. The situation is not perfect, could be improved, and I look forward to being able to improve that situation shortly, which I'll come to actually in a moment when I discuss some of the other countries and the network that's growing. You may wonder, okay, so we've got members in Portugal. The members of Alcor Portugal have joined Cryonics UK as fee-paying members, so they can benefit from our services. Now, it doesn't actually say in our constitution that members have to be based in the UK. However, they've understood that it's a little unfair to incur those ridiculous extra costs of being overseas without doing something to sort of make up for that. And basically that if they didn't, we wouldn't realistically be able to take them on as members because we wouldn't be able to afford that liability, that financial liability of operating overseas. So the arrangement with them is that our expenses are paid for, our Cryonics UK expenses are paid for by Alcor Portugal as a group as they happen. That is to say, there is somebody on the phone with a bank card paying for our flights, accommodation, shipping, these kinds of things. This stage is an informal arrangement. We may make formal arrangements shortly down the line. I have been in touch with people from the local cryonics group in the Netherlands and also in Belgium, and I have been giving the people in the Netherlands the same information and support I've recently been giving to Portugal, so they can get a few bits and pieces on the ground so that we don't have to ship them over. For example, it's really helpful if they have certain pieces of equipment that are heavy and bulky already. So looking to do that, they have enough money put aside already for the initial outlays, which will cost them around €4,000 all told for the equipment that we'd like them to have. I'm talking with the fellow who now runs Cryonics Belgium with a view to developing a similar relationship and situation. I'm also talking with Cryonics in Italy and Greece. Now, there are very few members of Cryonics organisations in Italy and Greece. However, if they can form enough critical mass to develop a local group in the same way as the other countries I've mentioned, then they can start to form part of this network. And essentially, what we're doing is growing those connections, working together, and eventually we'll have, well, I say eventually, I have some fairly major plans in the making that should make this not too distant eventually, quite soon eventually actually. A strong network of cryonics support throughout Europe. However, as I say, this last slide here is a little bit of a cheat because it's not strictly speaking Cryonics UK. It's more about the growing relationship between various local groups throughout Europe, with a view to eventually having a standby and suspension service that will span the European continent, much like suspended animation does in the United States.
So the local groups, are they people who are taking part in the practice sessions and the training sessions? So they can be a part of-
Yes.
Right.
Yes, in a nutshell.
Right.
Was
In
that
the
was the
UK,
question?
we're on their own.
I'm sorry?
In the UK, do they travel to the UK to take part?
Some do. In fact, there are only a very small handful of chronicists in Poland, but one of them has been attending trainings recently in the UK. We certainly do try to develop groups where we can. In Portugal, they've recently been looking simply at acquiring kit so there's less for us to transport over. So there's fewer time delays and less expense to them in the long run. Netherlands look to do the same. Obviously, they can't train yet with the kit that they don't have. Our Portuguese colleagues have not yet flown over to the UK to train over here. However, they have observed our trainings by video link, and I will be going to Portugal at the beginning of July to do some in-person training over there.
Sorry,
yes?
exactly in Portugal? Because I'm from there and would like to connect with you.
Okay, I must apologise, I've forgotten the name of the town, but do you know of Nuno Martins?
Again?
Nuno Martins?
No Martins. Well,
Okay. If you do a Google search for Alcor Portugal, do you know how to spell Alcor? If you see you're writing it down. A-L-C-O-R. Okay, Portugal. It will come up with their website. And that will be the first weekend in July that I'll be there over their training, though I'm sure that they will be delighted to be in touch with you before then if you want to contact them.
Okay.
So yes, gradually more and more